could you tell us, Vina, what the particular tangible impacts are with regard to creators, particularly within the Southeast Asian market?
Well, as 15 months journey of my creator's life, but I mainly get money, quote unquote, or economic impact based on the advertisements and endorsements. That is the mainstream currently for myself as a TikTok creator. So basically, I collaborated with brands, and I also collaborated with several companies that they're currently very connected to my niche. And also, as a part of that, I also get a chance to be an ambassador for some brands, gitu, to elaborate and to expose and to introduce their brands also by having them showing their products with my TikTok videos, and that's the thing, top. So, if we talk about the economy and the mainly source of income for my 15 months of journey as a TikTok creator, I think most of my money itself is come from advertisement and endorsement, and I think not gonna be it's not gonna be slowing down very time soon, because I see in Indonesia itself, TikTok already see massive growth, and also TikTok itself is expanding their reach into the TikTok shop, and I see that as a way to creators itself to make more tangible economic advantages.
Yeah, that's great, Vina. And I think for the benefit of everyone, as Vina said, she started a little over a year ago, and to date, she has already about 4.5 or more million followers on TikTok already. That's how quick and viral Vina has gone. Not just in Indonesia, but I think across the Southeast Asian and the world, right? So great work, Vina. So I'd like to,
Thank you very
yeah,
much.
thank you. Thank you also for being a great part of our TikTok creator community. And I'd like to forward that question as well to Adrian. Adrian, what are you seeing? What are you seeing with regards to the tangible economic impact from your end as regards to creator economy?
I mean, this is a really interesting question. I mean, the truth is that the creator economy is not new, right? I mean, since social media has kind of came about, it has already existed. But I think where it is now, especially with the rise of TikTok as a platform, is that I think it is for the first time for a very long time. I can for sure say that it is thriving, right? Because what TikTok has done is that it has given birth to a whole new wave of like creators that we have never seen before, in the past 10 years of social media, right? With mobile data getting cheaper across the region, people have more access to content, people can upload content, people can consume content, right? It makes it cheaper for people to create content. And I think a whole idea of TikTok being a platform where you can do everything on the app itself is amazing, right? You don't need like fancy equipment or software to create content anymore. Anybody, right? As long as you have a mobile phone, you have the app itself, you can create content. And I think that is really the fundamental like drive behind, right, the rise in the number of like creators in the last 2 years, right? And I think this has really created a whole new economic like sector, right, that maybe has not really seen its full potential in the years that has passed. And I think that is something that is super exciting, right? Because with content, that then there is eyeballs, right? With eyeballs, is that the truth is that brands, companies, agencies, they're looking to kind of tap on these eyeballs, right? And if most of these eyeballs exist on the platform like TikTok, right, then the question is how do brands and companies really tap on these eyeballs to create meaningful work that people can consume while learning about whatever messages that they can. And I think this has opened up a whole new wave for opportunities, right, for creators like myself, the network that we have run, the creators that we have, or even like what Vina has said, right? It has kind of give her boundless opportunities, right, that she might not have seen like 2 years ago before a platform like TikTok came about. So I think it is something that is super exciting, right? I think the space is only going to get bigger. I think as the market shifts, right, increasingly, I think across the region from traditional to digital to social, right, I think it is going to be growing in prominence over the next couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah, those are excellent insights, Adrian. And I think you touched on a point, the shift from traditional to digital, right? And I think Justin would be very well positioned to talk a bit about that. How is TikTok now trying to help drive that now that we are seeing a shift from the creators, from a lot of these creator economy uh, players? How is TikTok driving that, and how is it enabling that kind of behavior?
Yeah, thanks, Toph. There's a lot that we are seeing, and there's a lot that I can talk about in this space, but I'll broadly touch on just two main themes. The first is around economic impact multiplier of the creator economy, and the second is more around social good. What we are seeing is the creator economy is emerging as a new digital economy sector across the region and a new economic contributor, where the demand for digital and creator content has now resulted in a new ecosystem of brands, agencies, creators, platforms, all coming together to create ripple effects in growing the overall digital economy. In fact, if you look at the TikTok creator community, it is the heart and soul of TikTok. It is a place where more than 1 billion people come on our platform to be entertained. And this community has created a new global language around video and sound by sharing authentic stories, thoughts, joyful experiences with one another. And it is this creativity and authenticity that cannot be replicated or found anywhere else. And so as a result of this, one of the real tangible impact that we're seeing is for brands, especially brands that are large, small, medium businesses. And they have managed to harness the power of creators in their brand building efforts through the values of what we call trust, authenticity, and participation. And this is especially relevant in a region like Southeast Asia, where the confluence of culture, diversity, and communities mean that there's no better way for brands to make culture and authenticity work for them than through creators who know their audiences best and they can help to humanize. And I think the emphasis here on humanizing a brand's audience engagement and story. And we have good examples like Hepmil, which is a Southeast Asia homegrown fashion brand. They use our creator marketplace to collaborate with creators to drive awareness of their brand presence with the TikTok community. And this was particularly for their Lunar New Year campaign this year. And just over a few weeks, they garnered more than 5.3 million views with more than 5 million impressions across the videos that they created. Another success story that we're very proud to tell of is Pikula Eyewear, which is an online eyewear startup in the Philippines, where they collaborated with a creator that they discovered on our creator marketplace, and within 24 hours produced multiple videos that helped them to drive more than 3,000 registrations across the region. So that's more in terms of tangible impact for brands. And what we are seeing is also a rise of an ecosystem of creator marketing agencies who provide specialized and custom solutions. One of them, for example, is Hepmil Creators Network, which Adrian is very familiar with, being one of the co-founders, and they're one of the pioneering agencies right here in Singapore. And at TikTok, we have doubled down our efforts to support creator marketing agencies and platforms like Hepmil and many more across Southeast Asia. Very quickly on the second theme, right? So I touched on the economic impact multiplier. The second theme is around how creators and participants in the creator economy can now come together to contribute towards social good. Very good example is our fellow panelist, Veena. For those of you who don't know, as we mentioned, she has more than 4.5 million followers on TikTok. And her videos focus on learning and education was actually recognized as the best of learning and education at the TikTok Awards Indonesia 2022. So this has really helped to drive economic impact that is driven by trust, authenticity, and participation. And we also see that brands and government agencies can also harness creators for social good. An example is our mental health awareness campaign that we drove across the region that drew more than 13,000 related posts and 18 million views. We have also rolled out COVID-19 educational campaign that drove more than 700,000 videos and more than 8 billion views across the Southeast Asia region. And lastly, we have partnered very closely with our local government agency bodies like Infocomm and Media Development Authority or IMDA, Ministry of Health, and others in Singapore in our TikTok for Good efforts. And a very interesting cohort here is also how we have helped to sustain not just creators and brands, but also micro, small, and medium enterprises through this challenging period. And TikTok, in partnership with our Indonesia's Ministry of Cooperative and SME, launched a series of campaigns this year to boost the digital skills of businesses across the country. So these are just very tangible, real-life examples of impact that the creator economy can bring to this region.
That's great, Justin. I think one thing I get from that is, number one, it what it does is really democratizes the process of content creation as well as the reach that they have, not just in particular markets, but now you have the ability to reach further outside of your specific jurisdiction. You can have access to, say, the wider Southeast Asian region or even worldwide, depending on that. It's not limited to, I think it's not limited to big brands. You have individual content creators such as Vina, Adrian, who have been able to expand through platforms such as TikTok. So great, thank you for sharing that, Justin. And of course, Suryahti, who is here, one of the integral parts of the creator economy is always support and proper regulatory help coming from the government agencies. So, Suryahti, perhaps you can also take on this particular point on how governments are looking at the creator economy and what kind of tangible impact governments are looking at whenever we talk about the creator economy.
Thanks, Toph. And I just wanted to pick up on what you mentioned, the 2 points that you mentioned just now. One is the democratization of content creation. And I think Adrian touched on that as well. And of course, TikTok provides the tools that makes it easy for our creators to do so. And it has created so much impact and opportunity for Singaporeans, especially young people, and it is much more much more impactful for Singapore. When we look at numbers of some of our creators like Ming Wei Rocks, who's got more than 20 million global followers. To us, it's like, how many? That's like 4 times the size of Singapore's own population. There's no way. This is a platform that allows us to reach out to that global audience that we could never imagine before. So I think we're very excited from a government's perspective. We're very excited about the opportunities that this space can bring. The other is Chen Hao Tan. He's got more than 1.3 billion views on his videos alone. Again, those numbers are staggering for us. Singapore, 6 million people, about 6 million people, something that we could never imagine before. So what do we do from government's perspective? What do we do about the space? How can we help more people kind of explore the opportunities? Vina mentioned about being able to monetize her content through brands and advertisement endorsements. We see that as a key avenue, right? And what can governments do? We currently have a number of collaborations with partners such as TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and some of the channel creators, like the creator marketing agencies that Justin mentioned, to work with them, create programs, bespoke programs to target certain types of creators. And the idea is, how can we help them kind of grow, build their skills to become really global players? And on this, we also see a very important element is really about collaboration. We are very keen to encourage our creators in the region to collaborate on content together, to kind of expand their own niche reach. Also because we want brands to also kind of look at content creators, not just for their market, but at a broader level, because that's how you kind of jumpstart that growth process. The other thing I wanted to mention is this: the creator economy. While there's a lot of interest and we are excited about the opportunities it brings, in terms of official numbers, this is still a gray area. When you do a lot of research in this space from a government perspective, we need to have the stats, right? To justify the interventions that we're going to be doing. The numbers isn't there because it's kind of still not very kind of structured space. Creators, like Vina and Adrian, the revenue that you get is not consistent. Again, that's one area that we're looking at. We're actually launching a study, or we've actually launched a study to essentially kind of concretize this facts about the creator and the economic impacts of the creator space. So we're hoping that would again help kind of concretize the opportunities for the Singapore creators. I wanted to also pick up on what Justin mentioned earlier, which is the opportunity that this platform offers for social good. So we are also working with our creators to create content that that promotes our public service messages, promotes the sense of Singaporeanness, our celebrating our multiracial society, understanding generational gaps and all that, because this again we see as a great platform, not just about Singaporean audiences, but also educating audiences outside of Singapore about Singapore really, and our culture and our society. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Suryahti. And of course, IMDA has been a very critical partner of a lot of online platforms, a lot of creators, and in furthering that growth. And I think since a lot of our audience members now are within the Southeast Asian region, I think we can look to the IMDA as for inspiration as to how government can actually help drive a lot of these initiatives and encourage actually the growth of the creator economy. And on that point, let me follow up, Suryati, on the point that you were raising. I think you talked about the study that you were doing to further help develop the creator economy. But there are other things in the pipeline that you might be seeing that can further accelerate the growth of the creator economy, not just in Singapore, but if you can also see some patterns or trends that are emerging across the region, we would be happy to hear from IMDA.
Yeah, thanks for that question. I mean, the trend that we see from the creator economy is really the creative manner in which the creators engage their audiences. I think that's that building their community. I think that's a key factor for any creators, and the innovative ways and tools that are out there to help creators engage that community and kind of leverage on that relationship to create greater value for themselves as well as for their community. And I think that's a very, very interesting aspect that you don't usually see from other medium. So, for example, we're used to kind of content created through the mainstream media. That relationship isn't as tangible as it is for the creators. We are seeing a lot of interesting activities that are happening in terms of leveraging non-fungible tokens as a way, again, to engage the community, to bring value for the creator as well as the community. We are seeing interesting developments in terms of a new media like metaverse, which is a sexy word nowadays, but it really creates, to me, to us, to IMDA, the opportunities that creator can bring and the platforms, avenues that they can generate greater value for themselves and their community seems to be, at this moment, as far as the imagination can take them, really.
Wow, that's very encouraging, Suryati, as far as your imagination can take you. And on that point, Adrian, what other potential? What's on your imagination? What can you see to further accelerate the growth of the creator economy?
I think from us, from a agency or network point of view, I think we're really looking at how can we truly empower the creators to turn content creation into a proper living, right? Or maybe even set up a little company for themselves. That this goes beyond just being a hobby, like a nighttime thing that I just kind of do for fun. Right, because I mean fundamentally for any kinds of platform to work, right, you need content, right, and content is created by creators, right, and I think passion can only last you that far, right, after a while, your parents, your spouses are gonna ask, like, what are you doing, like, this TikTok video that you're doing every night, do you bring, do you earn anything from it, can you actually build a career out of it, or are you just doing it for fun, right? So I think that is where that relationship between platform, government bodies, agencies, creators, the audience, it is an ecosystem that really needs to, I think there's a lot of potential for us to do a lot more, right? To really empower the entire creator economy and the creator ecosystem to make sure that, hey, we try to support as much as we can to help turn these dreams into reality, right? To encourage ground up initiatives and movements, because when it comes to regulations and frameworks, there's always that fine balance, right, of whether should we step in, or should we let the system figure it out for themselves, and then we come in to support them, right? So I think that is that always that fine balance to strike, and I think we are still in. I think there has been great work right now that's being done, but I think we still feel like there's a lot more that we can do across the region. And I think, like what Suryahti said, collaboration not just among creators, but across the different stakeholders, important stakeholders in this entire creator economy is going to be super important, right? Because if left on its own, it might not reach its full potential. And I think right now we're at a very exciting phase.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Exciting, I think, is definitely the word that we're looking at. And on that note, Vina, obviously Indonesia is one of the more exciting markets we have for the creator economy. Could you also give us your insights on where you're seeing this leading towards? Like, how can we further accelerate the growth of the creator economy there?
Yeah, I would like to point one research from Hootsuite Media Research in 2022 and 2021. So TikTok actually reached the fourth most used platform in Indonesia, while as 2019 and 2018, TikTok hasn't been able to get in even for the top 20. So we see that TikTok is mainly has become one of the most used platform gitu in Indonesia, and I think that's bring a lot of opportunity, especially for creators. If we talk about the acceleration of the creators economy, I strongly agree with Adrian and also Yahti for several points. Uh, but I think the most important thing for the acceleration itself, it can come from the platforms for being a middle ground between brands and creators and ensure quality engagement and content. Because I believe TikTok has a unique algorithm to find the best audiences for the content itself. And I don't see this thing in many other platforms. And I think that can leverage the economy itself. And the second one is how the TikTok, the platforms and the government bodies and also the creators can more engage to other people or other uh, 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 people who has potential to become a creator, but they are too afraid to join because like that, if you can see creators right now, it's just more like a freelance job, right? You don't have the proper guidelines and support from government body, just like what a day-to-day job. But if you have that support, I think many people can see the being creators as can become a main job for them. And I can I think for this thing it can leverage more the economy and the impact itself. That's from my end thought.
Thanks, Vina. I think some of the things you said are music to the ears of Justin. Now we're from top 20. Now we're number 4 in Indonesia in terms of the most used platform. So I think this is directed to you, Justin. So how, given that growth, how can now online platforms help in fostering the growth of the creator economy?
And one thing to add on to that point, it's important to note that we are still at a very early stage. It's a very nascent stage of the creator economy, which means that there is still tremendous growth and opportunities in the years to come. And I think today as a creator, there are many platforms and choices for them to choose from. And this provides many different creative canvases for their different skill sets and the different passion areas. Specifically for our platform, we have seen that creators choose to come and create on TikTok because we have made it easy and simple for them to tell authentic native stories in joyful and entertaining ways. And this has opened up a lot of opportunities for creators to work with brands. In fact, a fun fact here is just over 1 in 3 viewers on TikTok say that TikTok has inspired them to buy something recommended by a creator on a platform. So that's a new world of commerce that has been unlocked because of the creator economy. So our role as a platform and a technology platform is to build for a suite of platform and tools for creators, businesses, and even government bodies to reach their intended audiences in ways that are easy and seamless. And the emphasis here is easy and seamless, because we believe that this can then spark a ripple growth effect and unlock monetization for creators. So some of the work that we have done in recent weeks and months around our well-loved features such as Duet and Stitch that encourage creators to get highly engaged with their community and share their interests with the global audience. We have invested significantly into our TikTok creator marketplace, which helps to make brand and creator collaborations easy. And now brands can browse and search more than 500,000 creators globally on our creator marketplace across 24 countries. Another platform and tool that we have built is Spark Ads, which helps to amplify organic videos and boost content from creators who share unprompted earnest product reviews. And one of our latest innovation that we just launched a few weeks ago is Branded Mission, which is an industry-first ad solution that enables advertisers to crowdsource authentic content from creators on TikTok and turn these top-performing videos into ads and reward creators for their talents. So with technology, the possibilities are endless. Another area that we're investing heavily into is education. This is really to touch on Vina's point. As a new creator that is emerging out of the pandemic, a lot of these new creators that we see are young. They're fresh out of school. So how do we help drive education and enablement as a key pillar to unlock growth? And this is still a relatively new space also for brands, creators, and governments. And so we are focused on rolling out more resources and tools around education and thought leadership that will guide both brands and creators across things like data-backed creative best practices. How do you build better content? How do you be more innovative and creative? So there's definitely an opportunity for brands, creators, governments, and platforms like us to come together and make better sense of this new economic driver that we're seeing.
Yeah, I think Justin, you nicely summarized this portion of the session when you said that this is really there's really tremendous growth and opportunities for the creator economy here. However, I think that a lot of the people who are watching us today are thinking, it can't be all a bed of roses for sure. There are problems that we are facing. There are challenges that we're facing. So I think I'd like to direct this particular aspect to Adrian and Bina. Like, could you, just let us know? And a lot of the people here would be interested to find out as well. What are the common challenges that creators are facing across Southeast Asia? Like questions like, are you being paid fairly for the amount of effort you put in? And how can we ensure moving forward that there is fair treatment of creators across the different economies? Perhaps I can start with Bina. Bina?
Yeah, if we talk about challenges, of course, there's several challenges that I face for from over a year ago when I started becoming a creator on TikTok. The first one is we don't have the unified rate cards among creators, right? So basically, especially for new creators, they don't really know how to monetize and don't really know the significant terms and significant rate cards that they can use for their efforts of the video. So if we do have the unified rate cards, at least for the engagements and the proper views that we can get, I think it can help new creators especially to know and to really dig deep on how much payments that it can get. And the second thing that I would like to comment on this is there's a chance that creators can be taken advantage of as there's lack of structures and regulation to protect their rights, especially in several regions across the Asia. So it really depends on the body and government regulatory bodies to really emphasize that every single videos, every single um, creators that we go and we make is really something that we have put a lot of time off, and and it's very important for the government and for the unified body to really protect our rights so that it can be taken advantage of.
Great. Adrian?
I think a couple of points Vina has kind of really touched on. I think the only one that we're kind of add to is, I think ultimately it still goes down to monetization, right? And how well can creators make a living out of this, right? I think right now the great thing is that maybe we look at the top 1 to 5% of the creators on the TikTok space, right? They're able to kind of make a living, right? I think they're generating great numbers, but we're looking to kind of expand the entire ecosystem to be a bit more inclusive to moving up towards the 10 to 20%, right? How will we be able to get these people like involved in the whole idea of turning this into like a career, right? I think that is where there is still a gap gap for us to fill. Right? I think like what accurately point out, a lot of them, they are literally students, right, who have no idea of the media industry, of the advertising industry. Everything is new to them, right? I think we are in this room, we are super familiar with it, but for people who are delving into this for the first time, it is a very intimidating thing, right? I think so. The idea is how can we really equip them, educate them, empower them, moving forward, so that they will really think that this is a safe space to not just create content, but also to kind of make a living for themselves, right? So I think that is one of those bigger challenges that we see across the region.
Agreed, agreed. And I think Suryati, I think this is where government can step in when you talk about looking at a particular regulatory framework. Like, what's your view on how government can develop, say, a win-win regulatory framework for creators such as Adrian, Vina, and say the IMDA in Singapore?
Thanks, Dov. And not to sound cliched, but it's really about PPP, right? Public-private partnership. And this has been our, when IMDA started looking at this whole creator economy and looking at how we can support our creators to make this into a sustainable career, it is because the space kind of started bottom up, and this is not, and we wanted it to continue to grow in that way. And currently, we take a very light touch approach when it comes to the online creator space, because everyone, we have our regulatory framework when it comes to content that is on the internet, but it is very light touch. They're very broad general regulations or guidelines on the types of content. And on this part, I think the platforms has a big role to play as well in terms of ensuring safety and some of those guidelines in terms of the types of content. The other is really in the area of education, and I think that's something that Justin and Adrian touched on. That really need to be a lot needs to be done when it comes to education, and this is something that IMDA is also taking on, through our programs, educating even from primary school about safety online, what are the pitfalls, and how do you kind of behave respectfully on the online space. And then for the creators itself, as I mentioned earlier, we're working very closely with the platforms as well as MCNs, such as Gush Cloud and Titan and all that, to really educate the young creators. And I hear Vina when she said, there's especially for young creators, they don't know how to price themselves. They don't know what rights they have in terms of negotiations and all that. And that's where we think the role of the ecosystem and the networks and the marketing agencies can also kind of help guide these creators. I want to touch on the last point, which is really about the creators themselves. In terms of, there seems to be a sense that in the online space, everyone, the creators are very much focused on their own content, and they're not very collaborative. And I think for us, we do encourage the creator to again take a bottoms-up approach in terms of organizing themselves, so that then they can have some kind of representation. And from a government perspective, it will help us in terms of engaging the creator through a group.
Thank you. Thanks, Suryati. And I think what we see here is, while the creator economy is obviously at the very infancy stages, as some might call it, right? I think it's very encouraging to see that governments and government agencies such as IMDA are already proactively working and looking at different frameworks, the PPP framework, for instance. Look at ways by which we can further encourage the growth and acceleration. And like I said earlier, this is something that we can definitely look at inspiration for the other Southeast Asian economies and even across the world, for a good model to pattern after when we're looking and we're talking about the creator economy. Now, I'd like to touch on a point that Adrian raised earlier, and I think this goes into the long-term sustainability of being a creator, right? Like you said, a lot of people kind of think of this as like a part-time thing, something they do off hours, when they're at home. So, would like to ask you, Adrian, in particular, since you raised this earlier, what do you think creators see themselves in terms of, is this a viable long-term career? Is this something that can sustain you? Like, can you raise a family by being a creator? I think those are some of the questions in the minds of a lot of people in our audience today.
Well, thanks for the question. I mean, the honest truth is that it is not easy, right? I mean, it is like building a normal career like outside, right? I mean, if you want to build something that is sustainable, that is big, it is not easy. But for ourselves, we have been doing this for 10 years, right? We have more than 100 staff across the different countries, so we know that it is possible, but it will really take a lot of effort. It will really take a lot of greed and determination. Obviously, clear strategies and collaborations for that to kind of happen. So I would say that it is possible. I think that is why, for us, having been through the journey ourselves for the past 10 years, knowing the difficulties, the obstacles that you have to overcome, we want to kind of really use the experience, the network, the knowledge that we have, the lessons that we have learned to empower the entire ecosystem, right? Because I mean, who else to learn it from other than someone who has actually been through that? I think there's not really been a lot of that in the social media space. Social media space is still a very young space, and I think that is where we hope to be able to inspire and empower the creators to turn this into really a sustainable and long career. So I would say that it is definitely possible. If any time, this is the best time to do it, as compared to maybe even 5 years or 7 years ago, where social media is a new thing. Everybody's so scared of it, right? Everybody's on it, but everybody is trying to figure it out, right? But I think right now where we are, I think people are comfortable with social media right now. It's just really about harnessing the full potential. How I think people are really taking social media seriously, right? From all perspective, whether you're a creative, whether you are a platform, whether you are a government body. I think that is really heartening to see Suryahti saying that, hey, government bodies are really looking to pay attention to see how can they support the entire ecosystem a little bit better. Because if everything is ground up, it's always going to be still a struggle, right? But I think if there's support from the platform side, the support from the government side, I think that will really help pave the way for a lot of young creators to turn this into a viable career and make a significant impact, from an overall economy point of view. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you touched on something very good, Adrian. That I think right now you'd be hard pressed to find anyone with no online presence whatsoever, right? As opposed to the generation I grew up in. Right now it's almost impossible to find someone who does not have some sort of online presence. And on that note, Justin, how are online platforms trying to help now make the creator economy a sustainable and long-term thing for creators such as Adrian and Vina?
Yeah, thanks, Toph. I think one of the things that we are seeing evolve very rapidly is the social media landscape itself is also changing significantly. And it's very important for platforms like us to be able to reward and recognize creators of all levels to be compensated for their work, whether you are a top tier creator or just an emerging creator. And it's also very important for platforms to provide the right tools and resources, as well as different avenues and pathways to be successful and to make money. One thing that we have noticed, which is a fundamental shift, is the pandemic has changed our lives in many ways. It's changed the way that we work, the way we shop and buy, and how we connect with our family and friends. And what we have learned about community during this pandemic was how much family and relationships, sharing, learning from one another, play a key role in our lives. And as the world opens up, the importance of platforms that allow people to feel that sense of connection and belonging will remain the same and become even more amplified. And this is where we are hopeful that platforms like TikTok can continue to bring together a truly global community to discover, create, and share content that they love while finding more ways to unleash their creativity. So with that change and the fundamental shift, we believe that creators can become a new marketing medium that can be as influential as conventional media platforms. And this is why brands increasingly see value in investing in them. As we mentioned a lot earlier on, maybe being a creator can be a long-term career path. It will be. It might be unimaginable maybe just a decade ago. But with this shift of nature of jobs, we strongly believe it can be a viable career. And in Singapore, as we mentioned earlier on, we have examples of creators who have made it big, like Mingwei, Adrian. These are all really good examples of how creators are not just becoming creators, but they are becoming entrepreneurs in their own right and building agencies to support other brands. So it's a lot of also paying forward the success that they have found on our platform. And this is the part that is extremely inspiring and continues to inspire us in the work that we do.
Yes, absolutely. And I think we've seen great examples of that, Justin, across the Southeast Asian region. We've seen that in Indonesia, like Vina, seen that in Malaysia, the Philippines, Thailand, Vietnam, and Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos. Great examples of that, how the online platforms are actually helping drive that growth. Now, as we wrap up, I think wow, that was quick. We're now down to our last 10 minutes, right? It's true, time flies when you're having fun. I think now we'd like to touch on, particularly from the aspect of the creator, right? One of the things I think, again, Adrian, you touched on this point a bit earlier. Um, I think one of the ways by which, particularly on TikTok, you go viral, if you will, is to have that authenticity, right? To be true to yourself and to create content that you really enjoy and you really love. But I think there has been criticism that that as you start expanding, your content, there are allegations from some aspects that you some creators start to lose their individual personas, that they just create now content just for the sake of creating content. So how do you now try to balance that when you talk about having part of a creator economy? Obviously there is some sort of financial reward to that, but how do you balance that with staying true to what you love and what started you in this space originally? So Vina, perhaps I think I saw you raising your hand. Perhaps you can discuss this point.
Okay, sorry, that's just my friend. Okay, so it's very good to see, and the immense fun when your video goes viral. It's for the first time. It's just an unimaginable for me. But as far as I'm concerned, as the part of my one long year journey as a creator, I believe it's not just about virality that it's important. I believe that's more to take on this. I always think that it's important for us, especially for creators, to uphold community over virality, because community, it's what makes us a creator, can can hold us so much for the past 1 year when we go to the pandemic, and they are the ones who support us to become right here. So listen to the audiences and looking for solutions, that looking for problems that we can address in the videos, to give the solution. It's what it's best, and it's the core importance for being creator. Just not just because you're looking for the virality, or you're looking for the views number, or you're looking for the followers number. Yes, at one point it is a metric that the brand use, that it can monetize you, but after all, it's all about the community, just like what Justin said. Our videos and our added value to community, it what makes us the good creator. And when you are upholding that values to the community, you can be seen as the creator that can give a better value, and to give you differentiation among other creators itself, tough.
Community over virality. That's a great takeaway, Vina. Adrian, your thoughts?
Absolutely agree. I think maybe I'll touch on community in a different way. I think one thing that is quite clear that I think everybody knows is that you need to be able to stay true to yourself in order to kind of sustain this for a while, right? Because it is always going to be a challenge if you start losing yourself, right? I think one thing that is super important is to build a community of people who are aligned with your vision, right? And when I talk about that, I'm referring to a team, right? Because sometimes we tend to succumb ourselves to, for example, trends or just doing things for the sake of views, right? Because we have ran out of ideas. I mean, after doing it for 2 years, like, how am I can't keep coming up with ideas by myself in my bedroom every night. I'm gonna kind of run dry, right? So I think that is where people, when in their desperate moments of trying to maintain the numbers, maintain the engagement, let me just give the audience what they want or what is actually trending out there. So I think that's where people lose themselves a little bit. So I think the importance of building a team, right, who is aligned with your vision, right, is super important, right? Because people have their high days, people have their low days. Creative will have our dry days as well, right? So building a team that is aligned, where you can bounce ideas off one another, a community of people, a community of creators, collaborations, I think that is what is gonna keep the authenticity alive on a platform like TikTok, where content is being churned out at such a high pace, right? We're not talking about like a video a month. People are creating a few videos a day, right? So how are you gonna sustain that if you don't have a clear idea of what you are, you don't have a clear community that you're trying to build, you don't have a team, right, that's aligned with your vision. Is you can do it for a couple of days, a couple of months, a couple of years, but sooner or later you're gonna hit that roadblock. I think that is where having a clear idea of where you're headed towards, building a community, building a team, is going to be super important in retaining that persona, in retaining that drive and passion to continue creating. Because we have heard about things like burnout. People are just like, what, I've ran out of ideas, I don't want to do this anymore, maybe I should move on with the next phase of my life. And I think that is a sad thing, right? Because I think being able to entertain, being able to value add, from a content point of view on a social media space, is a rare talent. Not everybody can do it. I think now that there are more creators, there are a higher percentage of people who are actually able to do that. But I think, to be able to find that talent is not easy. And I think we want to make sure that, hey, we do what we can to try to make sure that they can, reach their full potential. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. And I think, it goes back again to how, say, an entrepreneurial mindset should be. Should always be innovating, should always respond to what you see in front of you and adapt to the present challenges. So that's a great point. Thank you, Vina and Adrian. So I think we have time for one last question. I think I'll just direct this to Suryahti. Suryahti, I think we are also facing, while we talk about, the potential of creator economy, we are also cognizant of the fact that we are just bouncing back from a global pandemic. In some parts of the world, there's still that problem people are facing. So how can, say, what's the take from the policymakers or governments in terms of, given that reality and the fact that some economies and some individuals are suffering individually in their individual capacities? How can we, as policymakers, try and help our creator economy, given these realities we're facing?
Thanks, Toph. I actually the pandemic was a very had a very positive impact on the creators, I believe. A lot of people were stuck, and they started getting creative about creating their own content. And there's a lot of people that were stuck was also kind of exposed to new content on the social media space. So I think from our perspective, we do see that actually the pandemic had a relatively positive impact on the creator economy, and in fact kind of fueled that to where it is now. And we see that it's not slowing down at any point. It's definitely growing. I wanted to end off with the point that Adrian and Vina brought about, that the importance of building communities, a community of among the creators themselves, but also between the creator and their own community. And to this end, I think IMDA is going to be supporting another creator event at the end of the year. Essentially, we just want to bring Southeast Asian creators together and provide a platform for them to kind of exchange ideas and network with brands, and also, potential opportunity for their own community to meet with them at this platform. And I think more of such activities will help kind of create that platform for especially Southeast Asian creators to be more impactful in the future. Thank you.
Wow, that definitely, I'm sure that would definitely help a lot of our creators there in Singapore. So, right. So thank you for organizing that. Looking forward to that as well. Which brings us to, wow, the close of the inaugural TikTok dialogues. That went by really fast. So just allow me to summarize rather quickly some of the takeaways that we have seen from today's discussion. Now, very clearly, we see that there is indeed a future for creators across Southeast Asia, and there's even high potential for growth. And one key takeaway as well is that from this discussion, it's very clear we need to embrace the changes, and we have to be ready to adapt to any changes that come along, and we face as we go along in this creator economy phase. And while we say that the creator economy is relatively young, we do believe that there is a huge opportunity for synergies between brands, creators, and governments to come together and make better sense of this new economic driver. And of course, as Suryahti has illustrated today, it's very crucial to have the proper regulatory support, and it's very critical towards building a flourishing creator economy for the long term, not just in Southeast Asia, but across the world. So, once again, on behalf of Adrian, Vina, Suryati, and Justin, thank you for joining us at the very first inaugural TikTok Southeast Asian Dialogues. We hope to see you again in our next edition. Thank you. Stay safe.